Today we're going to be covering Deadpool, The End, a brand new comic that just came out, which tells of a potential ending to Deadpool. You see, the end line here at Marvel Comics is a series of comics in which they give you the actual ending to your favorite characters. We all know how comic books work, and they'll never ever actually kill off your favorite superheroes or actually end their comics. So these are fun what-if tales. What if Deadpool was allowed to end right now? And this is the story of it. This is the Comicstorian channel, and I'm Benny, and I read your favorite comic books to you in a dramatic fashion. If you enjoy what I do here, consider smashing that like button, because you too will get to hear your The End in your head to yourself. And also consider subscribing to keep up to date in your favorite comic books, video games, and movies. Let's get into it. The universe swirls around, strange creatures swimming through the vastness of space. You are here, now, at the end of the world. This is the culmination of every decision that you have ever made, every happenstance that has ever befallen you. Consider for just a moment that of the infinite myriad of pathways available to all living beings on Earth, yours has brought you to this place at this moment in this comic. Death coughs green liquid spilling out of her bony mouth, and she looks up as Deadpool steps forward. "Why?" Death stutters. "Come on, babe. Don't make me do the monologuing. It's beneath you," he tells her. Around them, baby Franklin Richards plays with the Infinity Gauntlet as the rest of the world's heroes are distracted or defeated in their own way. "But without death, life has no meaning," she tells him. "Death, it's time to point your finger at yourself. I kept point your for decorum's sake," he tells her, and as Deadpool readies his sword for the final blow, a voice from behind him stays his hand. "Of all the atrocities you committed here, you're talking about decorum," the voice calls. Deadpool turns to see another version of himself, armored, standing in a beam of cosmic light. "Oh, how the mighty have fallen," the second Deadpool states. The armored Deadpool lashes out, knocking Deadpool away. "Get fisted!" But Deadpool's back at his feet, firing his demon-shooting infinity gun. "You idiot! We don't do sex-negative puns anymore. It's not 2018. But the armored one stops the blast with an energy shield, turning to baby Franklin and asks him to snap his fingers and say back to normal. "Backing Norma!" the baby gurgles. Deadpool leaps forward, swinging his swords. "Congrats, Deadpool ex machina! You just turned everyone into baklava in the shape of our Aunt Norma!" The rainbow sword cuts through the armored Deadpool's energy shield, slicing off his hand. "Nah, kid's a genius, they'll be fine." But as Deadpool turns his infinity gun on Death again, firing, armored Deadpool jumps in the way with his broken shield, trying to save the mistress of death. The rounds punch through the armor and the other Deadpool falls. But another fist knocks Deadpool back. "How are you dead there and punching here?" he asks as he falls to the ground. The armored one stands over him, armed with the rainbow sword. "Probability-based quantum armor. You made that up." "Probably, but now you're a nifty cutty thing." The blade comes down, and in seconds, Deadpool is lying there with no limbs. "That hurt! You curlish, stem-flexing ingrate! I'm doing this for you!" he yells at the armored Deadpool. The armored one stops, opening up with a hiss, and a new voice speaks to Deadpool. "No, you're not," she coughs. "I told you, I didn't want this a dozen times. You're doing this for you, because you're not strong enough to watch your daughter die of old age," Eleanor tells him, stepping out of the armor. She reaches down, pulling up her mask. "I don't have a daughter! That was a plot convenience cooked up because someone got bored of the status quo." "Can we stop talking about the meta for a moment and just talk?" she asks, booping his nose, but anger and tears fill up Wade's eyes. "Look at me, Ellie! I'm the hilarious emperor of Turdville who never amounted to the licenser's wet dream, and I'll get to live forever, while you... Damn it, Ellie!" She smiles, pulling out a roll of duct tape and wrapping his arms back together, and she tells her father that she is 97 and looking good. Everything's breaking down like it's supposed to. Oh, natural. "No, Ellie. 15 minutes from now, I'm growing new limbs and chokeslamming the universe into submission so that you don't die!" he yells at her. But Ellie smiles, pulling him in for a hug, and Deadpool cries, knowing that his daughter is good. "I don't want to exist in this stupid world without you," he tells her, crying. She nods, hitting a button on her suit, and the armor opens up, revealing a batch of neutrino bombs tethered to a miniature black hole. The neutrinos will incinerate them, and then the black hole will swallow the explosion and collapse on itself. "What sort of daughter would I be if I wasn't with my dad when he bought the big one?" She smiles. Deadpool turns to his elderly daughter. "You swear there won't be anything left in me to regenerate?" he asks. "Not a single smart-talking atom, I promise." She nods. He stares at his daughter for a moment. "Ellie, I'm glad it's gonna be you, he tells her. As the two hug each other, death looms over them and gently she reaches out, placing her hands on their heads as the light fills everything. And moments later, so that's it? Ghost Deadpool asks. Let's get to the ever-loving after-living nookie, he yells at her. Finally, eternity has become more amusing. She smiles as they lean in for a kiss, but their moment is ruined as Mephisto yells at them from his spot, chained to the lower extremities of Fing Fang Foom. Impossible! He bellows, but Deadpool smiles, turning to a spectral contract that they signed. If the mortal known as Deadpool does not kill his own daughter, Ellie, his soul shall belong to Mephisto for an eternity of miserable delights. Mephisto yells that Ellie killed herself, but Deadpool explains, I left her no other choice. I forced Ellie's hand. While my baby girl was the pawn, I pulled the trigger. As the dragon flies away, Deadpool takes his spot on the throne of the underworld, with Lady Death sitting in his lap, and he turns looking outward. Well, thanks for the love, gang. This is the end of my story. Or is it? I've never been much of a rules guy. One ending just isn't enough for me. Like me as the king of the underworld? Congrats. You could stop watching right here. If you want the happiest ending, though, keep going. The pool party is pumping, and Wade turns the hose on everyone, showering the partygoers. It was years ago that the climate change, unwinnable wars, and pigs merging with babies screwed the world over. But luckily, Wade has created the Dead Dome, an impenetrable force field that has protected Miami from the destroyed world. Deadpool spent the rest of his days partying until his heart gave out in 2099 under a pile of naked, well-oiled humans. Or the scariest ending. Phoenix, Arizona. The manager walks over, dropping a pile of reports into Deadpool's lap, telling him that branding ethos are off. They have to be redone by Monday, which makes the weekend more of a work end. He smiles, hitting Deadpool on the shoulder. As he's leaving, Ted turns back, telling Deadpool that he isn't supposed to decorate his cubicle. Deadpool sighs, taking down the photo from his retirement party with Domino, Bob, and some of his closest friends. Or the Hollywood ending. Deadpool sits up in his bed, pulling on his boots as Alexa warns them about a cataclysmic event. Do you think that there are cameras in here? He asks. God, I hope so. Captain Marvel smiles as she pulls on her uniform. Are you serious? Because I have cameras. He smiles and the two pull in for a kiss as he finishes getting dressed. He leaps out of the window as the rest of the team joins in. Avengers! What's the rest of that again? He asks as Carol grabs him and they fly away. Emble, Wade. Never gets old. Or the distinguished competition's ending. Ring pours from the sky as lightning cracks behind them. Wade stands on the rooftop with a spiked visor on his head. Now you see! Life has no meaning! Hope is for the weak! There are no heroes! He bellows, and behind him, Tony drinks heavily from a bottle, while Hulk leans forward contemplating life and Thor is staring off into space. Once, I was the lightning. Now I am the darkness. Humanity is not worthy. Odin's son whispers, and on the side of the building, Spider-Man cries, pounding his fist into concrete. Hope is for the children! We have to grow up and accept that the world is dark, a terrible place where heroes snap necks and misery is Oscar bait. He cries out. Okay, little off-brand, but wow. Deadpool notes. 1986 was 30 years ago. Deconstructing pop culture icons to examine the human condition is good for a mini. A thought-provoking crossover every 10 years. But nihilism is boring. Deadpool tells him as he unzips his face, revealing the power cosmic. And with a snap of his fingers, the world disappears into a flash of light. And that was the time that I rebooted Detective Comics into 69,420 new universes where hope, fun, and inspiration will rule the law. Or the ending of Domestic Bliss. Demon Deadpool sits on the couch, one horn broken and his beer gut hanging out of his shirt. Death comes in, telling him about the family event they have to go to. Deadpool refuses and then notes that she looks nice and smells nice. It's just a coffee meeting, don't get jealous, she tells him, walking out. I can't get jealous if you don't tell me who. He starts. Thanos, he's in the neighborhood, it's just coffee, Wade. Wait, honey, I'm sorry, can't we talk about this? Scully Bear? Or the bloodiest ending for Deadpool. A pharmaceutical company stole Wade's DNA and they sent it to Ancestry.com. They mixed it with Logan's and the two of them are now sitting in a pile of genetically engineered inhuman offspring. Arrows stick in their bodies as both men are dying slowly. Their healing factor's no longer working. I can't get this thought out of my head! Sweet Jesus, can you just shut up so I can die in peace? You really were the best at what you do, which is being a hairy nutwort with a Napoleon complex. Back at you. Logan smiles. Canada for the win. Or the quietest ending. Deadpool looks up, smiling as the nuclear explosion begins to wipe out what remains of the world around him. His 2088 New Year's mask begins to melt as the skin flakes from his face. Ha! Now I get it. That's funny. Or the other Hollywood ending. Deadpool sits up in his bed, pulling on his boots as Alexa warns them of a cataclysmic event. Do you think that there are cameras in here? He asks. God, I hope so. Bobby Drake smiles as he pulls on his uniform. Are you serious? Because I have cameras here! He smiles, and the two pull in for a kiss as he finishes getting dressed. He leaps out of the window as the rest of the team joins him. We need some homo superior representation in this assembly! Sing it, Mutie! He yells as Iceman carries him on his back. Don't use the M-word, Wade. It's like seriously offensive, Bobby tells him. Mr. Jet, Snowflake! Avengers, assemble! Or the Deadpool throwback ending. Government agents are pointing their guns at him while Deadpool tries to cover up the comic panels behind him. Sorry, this stuff was never meant to see the light of day. Like, never. I don't know if Kelly's trying to commit career suicide or needs a quick CT scan of the old brain man, but just let it go. Let it go, man. He tells them and us. Or the endiest of endings. Avengers Tower, Deadpool sits with Ellie while Al sits across the table. Ellie holds up the snow globe that she's playing with, and Deadpool notes that maybe all of her favorite stories take place in that snow globe. More of their friends show up as the bullets begin to fly, and as everyone begins to open fire, the scene begins to disappear as bricks begin to cover the panel. Ellie holds up her broken snow globe, and a tentacle monster begins to attack everyone, and the bricks get higher and higher as a voice calls to Wade. Fall asleep on the couch again? Sorry, Ness. Bob Newhart marathon puts me to sleep every time, Wade tells her. I have an idea to keep you up every time. Vanessa leans in. Hun, if I was ever a morally bankrupt mercenary who tried his damnedest to be better but never quite. The final brick slips into place as a worker walks away with a smile. The wall stands behind him, and a simple message is spray painted on it. Break in case of writer's block. And that concludes Deadpool the End. Of all the ends, I thought this one was a fun one. If you don't know with Deadpool, maybe you just stumbled across the latest movie, maybe you've been a fan for years. He's technically died like 3 or 4 official times. Every time that they can have an ending for Deadpool, they give him one. And that's because he can revive and always come back, and he's meta, and he's basically easy to kill and bring back without a bunch of explanations. So when they announced that there was going to be a Deadpool the End, I did find it really interesting. Now, I enjoyed the original ending. If you don't know where that is, we haven't completed that storyline yet. It was actually started up by Scotty Young, and it was pretty much ended at the end of that, but it's still kind of half going in Kelly Thompson's run. Either way, I intend on getting back to the Scotty Young run to tell you why he made a deal with Mephisto. But long story short, that original ending at the very beginning, that actually technically lines up with canon. You see, if you don't know what happened, Deadpool lost his memory, didn't know he had a daughter, then discovered he did have a daughter. Weasel was trying to get back at him by making a deal with Mephisto, so that basically at the end of it, it turned out that Deadpool had to kill Ellie or he would work for Mephisto forever. And that was where we left off with that. So this gives a bit of closure to that storyline while allowing Kelly Thompson to do whatever she wants. All those other ones, I liked the very last one. Ties it into the movie universe. A lot of fun. But either way, what did you guys think? Out of all these endings, which one was your favorite? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And let me know down below if you want to know more about that Scotty Young run where he fought against Weasel and Mephisto. It's not that long. We could probably get through it in a couple of weeks if you really want it.